Thanks for joining us this afternoon at our IBM Power Systems webinar. David Cole is here with me, and I'm Con Kakanis, Managing Director of Sundata in Brisbane. Worked with IBM technology, server infrastructure for a long time, and hopefully we've got some information that you'll find useful through this webinar. I'll just ask David to introduce himself as well.
Yeah, hi, my name's David Cole. I'm the Enterprise Solutions Specialist here at Sundata, and I've been working with the IBM systems for the 20 odd years that I've been here.
Thanks, David. As we go through, there'll be some links at the on the screen that you can see. We've got some other resources for you, such as white papers, which are concise and very clear. So hopefully you'll get some use from those. So please click on those links. Otherwise, there's other links there to get in touch with us if you'd like to have a follow-on discussion. Thanks. All right, just to get started, as to get everybody up to a base level on power technology, IBM Power Servers. It's an architecture that's been around for a while, and a lot of you will have known it at some stage. It was architected from the start to be future-proof, and amazingly, many years after its initial launch, that future-proofing is being played out right now under new and challenging workloads. So I'll just ask David to add a few words on how he sees Power Servers as an introduction.
Yeah, from an IBM perspective, it's IBM's, I guess, primary server platform these days. IBM doesn't play in the x86 market anymore. They sold that to Lenovo about 8 years ago. And so IBM have their power systems and their mainframe systems. So the power systems platform is IBM's platform of choice for workloads such as SAP HANA.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you may recall or be aware that IBM ran AS400 workloads and AIX workloads on Power. You may not be aware that it's also a great Linux platform, and in fact the majority of the growth in workloads on the Power platform these days is running multiple flavors of Linux, and it puts the IBM acquisition of Red Hat into, I guess, some additional context, if you know that. We're now going to talk a little bit about the business benefits of the Power platform. I guess our experience does cover over 20 years working with corporates, enterprise and government. And we've seen a lot of deployments of both Power Server and other architectures, primarily x86. What we've seen, I guess, to summarise the business benefits would be your cost of ownership over multiple years is generally lower with the Power platform when you compare it to x86. And that's because the way the thing is architected means you get a much denser footprint, much more integrated footprint, which means your resources that you need to run it are reduced. And things like the core performance means your licensing costs can be significantly reduced over x86. The other thing is that its reliability is an order of magnitude, and this is proven. Reliability is an order of magnitude better than x86. In fact, when you look at x86 reliability stats, they generally have some fine print on the bottom that says this excludes IBM Power and IBM Mainframe, which are generally seen to be far more reliable. So in a 24/7 always-on world, that reliability is a huge factor. When you couple that with a much lower cost of ownership over 3, 5, 7 years that we see people leveraging their infrastructure for these days, there's significant benefits that are probably less at the technical geekdom level and more at what a CFO or a CEO might find compelling. David, anything to add?
Yes, another key benefit is, I guess, the simplicity of the architecture and the deployment. So there's some statistics around that show that the deployment of, say, a SAP HANA project, the infrastructure for a HANA project is somewhere around 60% less than the traditional x86 deployment, where you've got multiple systems clustered together to deliver the same output as a single instance of a power system running HANA.
So I'm just going to ask David to just run through a bit of an overview of the sort of organisations that are running the IBM Power architecture these days.
Yeah, so over the years, we've seen a lot of manufacturing, finance companies, government agencies using IBM Power Systems, both globally and here in Australia. From a global perspective, 80% of the Fortune 100 companies are using Power somewhere within their enterprise. It's used by 10 out of the 10 biggest telcos in the world, 10 out of the 10 top banks, and 8 out of 10 insurance companies globally, the top global insurance companies. The SAP market, we've traditionally seen a lot of manufacturers traditionally using SAP running on IBM I, OS400 or AIX on the IBM platform for the last 20 years. And obviously those companies are considering the platform as they transition to HANA. Plus we're seeing the new companies that are moving towards the SAP HANA platform, also looking at Power Systems.
Thanks, David. Certainly the other element of the Power usage, David's talked about the enterprise world. One thing that's often overlooked is that the simplicity and reliability of the platform means it's fantastic for smaller organisations that don't have IT staff or expertise. So you see this dual mode of coverage. Enterprises with incredibly complex 24/7 environments value it for its reliability and simplicity. Smaller organisations with little or no IT staff also incredibly value it for its reliability and simplicity.
Yeah, one of the interesting components of the architecture is the performance of the machines, and Intel have consistently delivered their performance increases by increasing the number of cores within a machine, within a processor, to deliver faster performance. IBM's Power Platform has delivered not only more cores per CPU, but each core is consistently faster with each generation. And you might say, well, that's fine with as long as we get the performance that we need, but more cores, more CPUs mean more complexity. Then that leads to more licensing costs for databases and other third-party utilities. So it really does add up considerably in the total cost of your platform for your workload, be it HANA or anything else. Some other benefits is things like the performance of the backplane as we get these new workloads running, the performance between the CPUs, the memory, the NVIDIA, if you're looking at some AI type workloads. The architecture of the Power Platform is significantly greater than what we see across the Intel platform, irrespective of what brand Intel server you're looking at.
Yeah, David, did you want to comment on security as well from a technical point of view?
Yeah, certainly the security from IBM's perspective, security is built in from the ground up on this platform. The system, the virtualization layer, some of the operating systems obviously are IBM's own proprietary operating systems. So they've had security built in at every single layer. If you contrast that back to the Intel, you've got your Intel CPUs, you've got your HP, your Cisco, your Lenovo servers, you've got your VMware providing your virtualization, and then you've got a whole lot of other software tools building the stack and your database as well. Each of those has their own flaws. They've got to all cohabitate and integrate together, and that's why we see a lot of vulnerabilities in the x86 Windows Linux space, and we don't see those vulnerabilities repeated on the IBM Power Platform.
David's just going to comment on some of the raw stats that relate to performance and how we can achieve all of the benefits we've been talking about, you know, core performance, reliability, bandwidth, throughput, those sorts of things. David?
Yeah, thanks, Con. Yeah, traditional applications, we've always been concerned about CPU performance and storage performance. With the new workloads, that's all changing. We're seeing things like HANA, which is in memory. We've got all these new AI workloads that are really pushing the limits of what the CPUs, what the backplanes of the systems, the freeways between all of the components now becomes critical to delivering application performance. So where we see major benefits of the IBM Power Systems is things like the architecture between the I/O for bandwidth, between the CPU and the memory. We see bandwidth improvements of around 9.5 times over x86. Core performance, as we mentioned, is significantly improved with each release of the IBM Power Systems. So generally you'll see a 2 times increase over the equivalent x86 generation. Memory capacity for the systems, again, for applications such as HANA, where memory capacity and performance is critical, we see 2 to 2.6 times the amount of memory that is available within the Power Platform for an equivalent sized machine, and the memory bandwidth is almost 2 times as fast as the x86 server range.
So I'm just going to ask David to comment on systems management, workload and implications from running a Power Platform point of view.
Thanks, Con. Yeah, certainly from a systems management perspective, the Power Platform has been a clear leader for its life. The simplicity of the deployment of the system, we're consolidating multiple workloads, multiple virtual environments into a single server, simplifies the operations for your IT department. Single server, being able to run all those multiple workloads, doesn't have to be a single workload. Old manufacturing application combined with your new BI tools, your new AI tools, your HANA, can all coexist on a single piece of infrastructure. When we talk about the Power Systems, we've talked about the simplicity being the IBM stack, from the server itself, the firmware, the virtualization layer, and including some of the operating systems that run on the Power Systems. And having that stack coming all from the one vendor simplifies the deployment, simplifies your ongoing operations, simplifies all of the integrations between those products. If you compare that to your x86 platform, where you're slicing and dicing and trying to make work multiple vendor products to deliver a single stack of solution for your applications. With the built-in simplicity and the, as Con's mentioned, security built in from the ground up, we do see also a lot of time spent patching servers, keeping the bad guys out. That's something that is a whole lot more simpler within the IBM Power Platform. And again, it just comes from the brilliance of the design of the system, but also the integration of each level of the stack being delivered by IBM themselves.
Alrighty, so mentioned before that testimonials and seeing who else uses technology is always a key element. One of our major clients is an insurance business. It's been running in Australia since about 2001. 2001 they started with 2 employees. This organisation has grown to around 2,000 employees now. It's a national well-known brand. And they've been through, I think, 6 refreshes of power technology. And a few cycles ago implemented a high availability solution. So we've been running parallel systems in 2 data centres. And this organisation effectively runs 24/7, and the demands of the organisation are such that if performance and reliability is not delivered from their core platform, they can actually measure by the minute how much money it costs them. So these people have got an application that's being grown by an investment of something like 100 developers, 120 developers, David.
Yep.
Continuously improving and expanding the application. As I said, there are dire financial implications if performance and availability targets are not met. And these people have invested continuously through something like 6 refresh cycles over 15, 16 years, knowing that the IBM Power Platform will actually deliver infrastructure that won't hold the business back. These guys are growing at 15% compound over their life, and that's expected to continue, probably to increase going forward and they know that they can look at the Power Platform, and they know that it's got a committed technology roadmap through to 2030 is currently published. So they can make significant investments with a very high level of confidence right up to the board level. David, did you want to add any insights on that client?
Yeah, the insurance client that Con mentioned is an interesting case study because I guess traditionally they've been focused on the end user for their application, which if you think about insurance was always the call centres, going through the magnitude of questions that get asked to calculate essentially your risk and therefore your cost. And the performance of that end user workload was always critical. The more calls you get through in the day, obviously the better result for the organisation. That's taken a dramatic shift over the last 5 or 6 years where we see the new workloads taking over. So things like jumping onto a website to get a quote from them directly. The performance of the web transactions is now critical. You've now got the new aggregator sites where you compare the market, your iSelect type businesses where they're consolidating multiple quotes to present to the customer, multiple quotes from multiple organisations. That performance now is the most critical part to their business. So I've seen a major shift, and the Power Systems has been able to deliver that change in the workload from the traditional ERP type view through to now the pure performance throughput of the web. And as Con said, it's 24/7. We've got all sorts of compliance regulations in the finance industry here in Australia that is met. And these guys are using some really innovative parts of the IBM capability within their infrastructure. We run out of 2 data centers. They switch between each. We move resource around, licensing CPU memory resources between the sites. IBM have an offering, so you don't have to buy exactly the same system for your disaster recovery location. So it's really some innovative changes that have come to the platform over the last 5 or 10 years that's seeing a more economical benefit, but a much better business outcome for our clients.
Part of our message today, you might have preconceptions based on, what you perceived years ago. This is worth looking at today, 2019, in the Australian context for modern workloads, not just traditional legacy type workloads. SAP's telling its clients HANA will be the only supported database in 2025. This is the best platform for HANA, and some of the links that we've provided can help you verify that.
Just having the conversation, just to position what it would look like inside of your new workload, your existing workload within your IT department. I guess traditionally applications have been deployed and everyone just follows the same path, therefore they get the same outcomes. We don't see IT operations staff shrinking. The requirement is always increasing. IBM Power Systems for your applications can help reverse that trend. So get in touch with us, ask a few questions. We're happy to help, give you some ideas. If there's an application workload, we can do some sizing with you and look at how it could benefit your business.